Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with Sean and myself as we talk investing, finance, and retirement here on Retirement Elevated. And we're going to discuss retirement expenses this go around. There's a lot of things we can anticipate in retirement, but often we forget about some of these things. So we're going to dive into a couple of those and let Sean break them down for us. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. It's hot here. Like super hot.
Super hot. Yeah, we were just talking about that before we got started with the podcast. Toasty.
Right. Oh my gosh, man. It's you don't even want to go outside. We were looking at going to St. George, and it's 114 down there. And I thought,
wow, that's warm. That's a mite warm.
It's brutal.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, hopefully, it'll be a good. It won't be too hot of a summer. It won't be a trend of things to stay. Hopefully it's just a spell here or there. So I know a lot of places in the country are pretty hot right now. But, hey, when you're talking about expenses, travel is one of those. So we'll get to that in a second. Of course, you might not want to travel when it's 115 degrees. But let's go through a couple of places, as I mentioned, Sean, where people sometimes don't factor some of this stuff in. And you kind of hear it and you go, well, why aren't you? Or why aren't we? But we tend to not do it. So let's start with medical expenses, because I think we factor in some of these things, but not enough, or we don't anticipate just how bad it could get, or the amounts that it could get to. So talk to me about a couple of bullet points there.
Yeah, I mean, so when you look at medical expenses, there's let's call it the pre-65 and then post-65 ages, right? So if you retire early and you're younger than 65, well, you're responsible for your health care. You've got to go out to the open market or to the exchange and buy health insurance. And depending on your income levels will determine if you get subsidies or if you've just got to pay out of pocket. If you're paying out of pocket, I mean, you're looking at $800 to $1,200 a month, depending on the plan. And so that's just an added monthly expense that now maybe your employer was covering a lot of it or some of it.
Right.
But you have to take on that entire burden. So that, we're looking at pre-65 there. But post-65, Medicare steps in, and you've got your A, which is free for a lot of people. You've got Medicare Part B, which there's a monthly cost, and it's based on your income. And then if you buy a supplement, and the nice thing about Medicare is that across the board what those premiums are going to be. It's very direct. It's very straightforward. Premiums are set. And so you can really budget for that with confidence, knowing that this is what B is going to cost, this is what the supplements are going to cost, and it's pretty straightforward. But some of the other expenses, I mean, from a medical standpoint, are that people don't plan for are maybe some vision or dental, and you got to go out and
it's not in there
and have maybe you got to get some crowns or your teeth fixed, and you forgot to get dental insurance or whatever, and so when you've got to have dental work done, that's an out-of-pocket expense. So you probably want to at least think about that a little bit.
Yeah, they help with cataract surgery because that's a surgery, I guess, because my mom had that. But they, a lot of times, eye care is not covered, but they do help with if it's a surgical type of thing. So, but it's only a portion, right? So you gotta, and it was really weird. We went in to do her cataract, and they were like, I swear it was like a cell phone store. They were like, well, we offer 3 kinds of lenses, and Medicare covers a portion of each one. We have the entry level, the mid tier, and the upper tier. I was like, what is this? Like, is this top one made with Gorilla Glass, or like what's going on? It was wild. It was like $3,000 an eye that didn't get covered by. For the top one, right? And then the bottom ones and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's definitely stuff to ponder because they can be out-of-pocket expenses there that you didn't take into account. I mentioned travel, Sean, so we think about the fact that we're getting back out, the world's opening back up, we want to travel. Great. But what about maybe some unexpected travel? So let's kind of take the whole, initial, let's just go back out and have fun because we missed travel due to the pandemic. But let's just say we're doing our normal planning for our normal holidays or whatever the case is. But what are some unexpected travel that can maybe throw a monkey in the wrench when it comes to retirement plans?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of them, and hopefully they're good. They're good issues, not bad issues.
Probably a little bit of both, I'd imagine. But.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. And I'll use myself as an example. A couple of years ago, before COVID hit, I got, I say one, but it was an auction. I just paid more than the other person. And my wife and I got tickets for the Green Monster on our anniversary at Fenway Park. And for me, that's a bucket list type item. That's once in a lifetime trip that I could go on. Hopefully we get that back at this point. I still have the the voucher or whatever, and we're in talks with the Red Sox to see if I can get those tickets back. But that's you get that opportunity. You want to have some money that you can. Hey, let's do it right now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
Can't
go on
pass
that.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go on a cruise anytime soon. So, those are the types of trips that are appealing. Or maybe you just want to, spur of the moment. Let's go. My buddy just got back from Pinehurst. He golfed 9 rounds in 5 days. That's a lot of rounds for me, but like that'd be a really cool like trip. And so getting those once in a lifetime type deals that are kind of spur of the moment, you want to have some cash for that. On the opposite side of that, where a lot of people have family in different parts of the country, and unfortunately we all die at some point. And maybe it's that unexpected, there's a sickness or, a death or, a disability.
Yeah, and you got to head out to the funeral or something. Or
yeah, you got to buy plane tickets the day of, and they're more expensive.
Especially for our listening audience, right? I mean, retirees. I mean, definitely start to get to that age, you start losing more of your friends and loved ones, right? And you want to try to get there and pay respects, and it can add up.
Oh, I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, you look at, when my grandmother passed away. This was 2 years ago. I not only had to fly there within a day, but then I got stuck there because Delta had a massive terminal shutdown, and I was en route to come home. So then I had to prolong my trip I don't even remember where I was, for an extra 2 days until I could get a flight out.
Right.
I think
So
I
that's
actually
extra
drove
funds.
back to Boston.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
To get on a different airline and fly home.
Yeah.
Is how bad it was. But
Yeah, so that gives you some, you might wind up staying longer than you needed to. That's going to kind of eat into it. And is that part of the emergency, bucket, Sean, that we're pulling from for these kinds of things, these unexpected travels? Is that extra piece? Is that why we have that?
yes, it's always good to have that cushion, because that's that unexpected expense. Whether
Right.
it's 50,000 or 70,000 or whatever, 10,000. But you want whatever is comfortable. You want to be able to get to that cash fairly quickly.
Right, so you're not calling up your advisor saying, "Hey, I need to access my 401," or "I need to do
Right.
something like that." Right? If we can help it.
And if you feel comfortable, hey, I always have to have 50 grand in my savings, and you have to use some of that money. Well, you can replenish it later, but from one of your investment accounts. But maintain some level of liquidity so you can do some of those things that are like spur of the moment, or you can cover costs. That's why it's there. It's not earning anything. It's not a great interest earner, but it's there to allow you the flexibility to take care of things that are required.
Gotcha. Okay. Parental or child assistance. This may be expected, but it also could be unexpected. And we're seeing, I just talked to somebody not too long ago, Sean, who was in his early 70s, and he's still taking care of his mother, who's in her 90s, and helping out one of his children who are in their 30s. And the mother, I think, was expected expense, but I don't think the child was.
Right. And I mean, today's day and age, you're seeing kids moving back home. My mom and I chuckle about this. There's not a chance in, whatever, that I would ever move back home to live with her. And she's in agreement with that, and I'm in agreement with that. But that happens. I mean, there's scenarios where, kids need help financially, whether it was, hey, we lost a job, we just need a month or two to get by. It's not necessarily moving in, but it's, hey, can you help me out? We just went through a scenario where we had to actually send some money out from a retirement account for a client, because their little granddaughter got her foot in a boat prop, and she's got to have some surgeries, and she's not going to lose the limb or anything, but she's got to have some surgeries, and thankfully they were able to help right away. And so those unexpected expenses, you want to have some money that you can just grab and help out any way that you can,
and not throw, again, not kind of totally derail the retirement plan, that you have in place,
Right.
and make some little moves here or there if need be. And of course, that's why working with an advisor comes in handy, so that you've got that fallback position to say, hey, I need help here. What's the best strategy? Yada, yada. And then, of course, also, finally, it's taxes. And it's like, okay, again, is taxes an unexpected expense? But the way people go about it, sometimes it can be, because are we prepared for this tax train? I mean, it's picking up steam.
Your advisor should help you with that, right? And your
Right.
CPA. And that should be well thought out. And I'm a big believer in that we plan for policy, not for the politics side of it. Because what ends up coming out the other end of policy usually isn't what's talked about from a political standpoint. And so, yeah, I mean, if your tax rates go from highest marginal from 24 up to 30, that's a big deal. So you'll need to adjust incomes, you need to adjust withholdings,
especially if you're not making any more, right? Your income's the same, and all of a sudden you're in a 6% higher tax bracket.
Yeah, I mean, you got to change your lifestyle a little bit,
yeah,
or find a job that's going to pay you a little bit higher. But so, I mean, when you start to look at tax planning should be kind of a methodical thing that you go through each and every year with your advisor and CPA, and that's something that you should be prepared for if tax rates change. Now, personally, I'm not super afraid of tax rates going up. I don't know that a lot of things that have been talked about are just kind of hearsay right now. There are some scary things, but at the end of the day, if tax rates change, we just adjust with it. And if you're pulling incomes out of your retirement accounts, we may have to adjust your retirement accounts and maybe adjust how income is generated, or but from a tax perspective, we want to plan for that on a pretty consistent basis to make sure that there's not a huge ticking tax time bomb.
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty scary stuff to your point out there, indeed. And things have to get passed and so on and so forth, and there's still some hills to climb. But I mean, the reality is at some point, whether it's this year, next year, whatever year is, we're going to be seeing some stuff. So it's just a matter of what it is and the level it is, and so why not go ahead and try to anticipate as much as we can, which we would do a lot of times with many of the other components in retirement planning, so that we don't have to just get broadsided. So
right,
yeah. So I mean, unexpected expenses, retirement expenses, they come from everywhere. Retirement's so much more complicated, folks, than we initially think it is. And once you start working with someone, you kind of like, wow, I did not think there was this much stuff to it, but there definitely can be. So reach out and have a conversation with a professional before you take any action. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to hear new content, new episodes as they come out. Check out past episodes. You can find all the information you need at the podcast page, which is retirementelevatedpodcast.com. That's retirementelevatedpodcast.com. You can find the way to subscribe to us on whatever platform. You can reach out to the team. You can schedule some time with them, get your questions answered, all that stuff you can find. So, Sean, I'm going to let you go this week. Thanks so much. Stay cool out there and have yourself a good couple of weeks. And the next time we'll talk, we'll have to talk about what happened for 4th of July.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll catch you next time here on Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee from Elevated Retirement Group. We'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.